Three mere mortals discover their ability to create entire universes with their minds alone. Upon discovering their abilities, these three, gods if you will, join forces to create the Dark and Stormy Nights, a supercharged team of creatives with the aim of helping artists and writers around the world while combating the forces of boredom and mundanity. They are the Dark and Stormy Nights.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dark and Stormy Nights. I started that a little early and weird. So, whatever. This is Loki.
And this is Tyr.
And this is a planning episode. So...
Right, for Chapter 11.
Now, some of this was always the plan, and I know it's going to feel like, you know, that it's... We're doing this because of the circumstances of the world or whatever. And a little bit, it is the idea. But we've been planning from the beginning that there was a Fae.
It was in the original story circle that the wrongs against like the Fae children that were risen, and like against the sorcerer's wives, and the things that the Combine were doing that were hidden from the other communities would start to get out,
right,
and start an uprising. So,
with the things happening in the world, it isn't coincidence. This is informed by real world issues and
right, for
like
sure,
that.
Always.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that it's coinciding with the height of these protests and everything like that is more coincidence.
Well, we want to make sure that we don't gloss over it.
So,
which, you know, it wasn't really there in the parts where Lee and Eliot were figuring out where those children came from.
Right.
But I think that it's time that we shoot over and start showing the reader some of the underground things going on with the Fae.
Right. So the fact that the crimes of the ruling body have started to become exposed, the crimes of the Combine are being exposed, is enraging the Fae community.
With good reason.
Absolutely.
I mean, they literally murdered children.
Yes, these crimes did happen. It's not. It's just that somebody exposed them.
Right.
Know?
Exactly.
Now, you know, we know that Rhaena's motives are less than pure, but it doesn't mean that the crimes didn't happen. They definitely need to be answered for.
Correct.
So, in this chapter, we are talking about what? Starting to show the...
Yes, I think that we've reached a point here where now we've brought forth the Fae children who were murdered by the sorcerers. We've brought forth that ghost who's now been exposed, you know, to everybody on the news. Like, literally, there's not going to be a Fae community that doesn't know about this.
Right.
And that she was wrongfully killed by her husband.
And I think that maybe they start to uncover things themselves, too, right?
That's possible. Or
now,
maybe, like, some of their elders have old stories.
Maybe, but, you know, my thought is that once you expose a couple of the crimes of the ruling bodies and stuff like that, people start to look.
Out. Yeah.
You know, you start to, wait a minute, what else have these pieces of crap
and then
done?
we're going to be bringing the witches, too.
Yes.
So that's upcoming, and they're automatically going to know, okay, what happened with this?
Right.
You know, so we definitely want to start showing the reader some of that disturbance in the you know, the lower levels of the Fae community, like they're starting to see.
Right.
We want that seen, and so we've really most of the story has really been stuck with Lee and Eliot, and I think it's time to split off from that a little bit.
So, where do we want to go with this chapter in that regard?
Well, I think in the beginning we're going to open up with Lee and Eliot trying to come to terms with each other on that whole training thing. Like, we know that Eliot's in a place where he's kind of maybe a little cocky, a little unforgiving at this point. Was it Ren? No, it's not Ren. Rowan.
Right.
Riled him up. And then Lee is also, he's, you know, been humbled a little bit by Nigel, and he's going to try to level with Eliot, but at the same time, he's still Lee.
Yeah.
So he's losing patience with this kid who was, you know, 5 minutes ago looking up to him and is now being kind of a cocky asshole.
So I might make mention of, see, this is why I didn't want to leave you with her.
I was going to say, like, he's getting a taste of his own medicine. You know? Like, oh, suddenly you don't like me now that I'm acting like you? It's a pain in the ass, ain't it? You know?
No, I get it. No, but I'm saying, you know, he made mention of, you know, not wanting to leave him with Rowan, and then
yeah, he could mention that it's like a bad influence or whatever.
So
That's possible. So like I think at the beginning we're gonna show a little bit of that. They're grading against each other.
right.
Like Elliot's got an attitude, and Lee is like trying desperately to curb his attitude, but it's his personality. So I think we start there. We start with Lee and Elliot at odds.
Right.
And then from there, I think we need to cut away from our main characters completely. I think that we need to show a Fae underground, you know, some kind of community where there's no humans and there's no fear of exposure. So we see kind of like the market, but not the market, you know. I think that maybe we need a place where it focuses on the younger generation of Fae, because really that's where you see these
So
things.
maybe like, well, I'm thinking some kind of culvert back entrance to the underground. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I think everything's kind of
Connected.
yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, maybe there's a section of the market
That's
That's like
probably not that far from
where
the
they
huntsman.
gather
You know what I'm saying? If they're
or
smart,
whatever.
they've kept it near the huntsman. You know, so you know how I described that
But it's
tree
really
line.
like it's like the young Fae
Sure.
that know about it.
But
You know.
how I described that tree line that he snuck across to get to the huntsman from the huntsman.
Yeah, vaguely.
So I'm
you
thinking
think like within there.
it's a small wooded area with a creek that runs
Maybe
through
there's
it.
some sort of some forest Fae that has created an entrance there.
Well, I was thinking like some kind. It looks like a sewage culvert. You know, like a big
That works.
and which leads to this back area.
I will only do this if they can come across 4 baby turtles on their way down.
It's your chapter. Well, there's so there's these turtle trolls in no in
Really?
Japanese.
Turtle trolls?
Well, so they have water in their head. So
What?
yeah, if you spill the water out of their head, they dry up and they're useless. But
I've never heard of these things.
they look like turtles to me, anyways. But yeah, they live in water areas, and
That's funny.
so
Okay. Okay, so sewer entrance somewhere near the huntsman.
yeah, I mean, do it how you like or whatever. But I'm just saying, I recently described that tree line right by back where they park the RVs
Okay.
for the huntsman, and it's just a narrow wooded area where there's a creek of like runoff, like when it rains and shit, so the road doesn't flood. A lot of major cities have stuff like this. But they're fey beings, so they're good at managing space.
Right. Pockets and stuff.
Right.
Right. Okay. So within the magic market, there's going to be some sort of place where there's a place where the young gather,
Sure.
for whatever they're getting into. Just because I feel like that's where movements usually start, is where the young ones are
Yeah, it's
kind
probably some kind of
set
like
up.
fey hookah bar or something like that,
of, right, a coffee shop, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that there's going to be a couple of Fae who have been fed information.
Okay.
And now we know that those kinds of things would benefit Reyna because she's basically getting the communities to revolt against the sorcerers.
Right.
Now the thing is that we know that Reyna's intentions are not they're not what she's putting out there.
Sure.
The reader won't know that, and the Fae community won't know that.
But she's going to try and eventually push herself as the champion of the fey
oh,
community.
for sure. But first she has to create this opposition
I think
to the
she
sorcerers.
knows eventually she's going to get exposed as being behind the Bodak.
Right, but she's
So-
going to paint herself as a heroic.
Right. So
kind of figure.
but that's the thing. So in the meantime, she's got to build up the this is why this
Exactly,
is
and
happening.
then come in as a savior.
And so when she gets exposed, people are like, yeah, she was doing that to expose you. Like
Right. So that's the thing, is that eventually it's going to come to light that she's the one who brought the children back and who's
Right.
attacking and they're going to rally behind her because that's right, she's getting revenge, she's getting justice,
So
And then eventually her true reasoning is going to come out and we'll have to break them off of her.
maybe that's the way to write this chapter. This is a Rowan chapter. Rowan watches Lee and Eliot go at it and then walks off down into the culvert or whatever.
Okay.
You know
That's
what I'm
not
saying?
bad. So
And
follow her.
Yeah.
The problem is that being in her head, she knows But then again, we're doing third person, so
Well,
I don't really have to be
right.
in her
People don't
head.
have to think about what they're, they're.
Right.
But you would see her maybe feeding information if that's what she's doing, or if you just want to have her hear.
I kind of like this idea that you're saying, because you kind of are leaving the reader with this question of, is she betraying the bounty hunters? Is she, down there, like she's down there, like passing information on from the hunters to the communities, to the Fae civilians or the magic other or whatever.
Right.
She's like, down there feeding into this revolution almost, this uprising.
Right.
And the reader is going to be kind of questioning, is she not loyal to Reyna? Or is she, you
Right.
know what? And
yeah,
then,
if you give her away first.
right. And so down the road, you're going to find out this is Reyna. This is to Reyna's benefit. This is Reyna's plan.
Right.
But right now, the reader is questioning,
Rowan's
is
loyalty.
Rowan really loyal to
Right.
the Fae community? And she's infiltrated the bounty hunters. So I kind of like that play there. And
it's
then they're
about the
also-
right time, right? We're almost
It's
a third
perfect because we just had this moment between her and Eliot, and you're immediately going to have the reader
That's
questioning.
true, yeah. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, what is she doing to Eliot?
Right, exactly. So I really like that that's coming in here, and I really like the idea of following her. So that's perfect. Good plan. Okay, so we're going to go from... Wait, was it Rowan? Why do I
Yes.
Good Lord. We really messed up with their
Yeah,
name.
I know. We should have used something other than an R name.
I know. Rowan, Reyna, and Ren, and I'm all lost every freaking time. Okay, so
I
go
see a
from
Birds of Prey thing after this is all done, where all the girls
where
get
they're all
together.
together. Okay, go from Rowan watching me and Eliot. So she's kind of seeing that. She's seeing that issue between the two of them. You know what I'm saying?
Right, she watches their
So she
conflict,
sees
which
her-
she's a little responsible
Right.
for.
She sees her influence in that. She watches it, and then she walks off to go do this. And the reader is definitely going to be kind of, and
Right.
like thinking that she's the bad guy, which she kind of is. But like, we're not revealing like to the full extent.
Well, I think she becomes the repentant bad guy.
Well, the thing is, she's not. She's being controlled.
Yeah, I mean, she's a servant,
Right.
but that's what I'm saying. In the end of this, I think we sell her as the repentant bad guy.
In the end of this, the betrayal.
Yeah, she
is-
betrays.
Right. Well, but the betrayal of Ellie, he's going to realize that she was betraying him the whole time. But in the very end, she's going to betray Reyna.
Right, but I'm not sure that that's good enough to save.
I don't know that it will be
her
to fix her
relationship with
relationship
Eliot.
with Eliot.
Yeah.
Right. But she's on the bad guy team here. But it's because she doesn't have a choice. She was, what did we say, sold to Reyna?
Yeah, and in the end, the Combine is still wrong. So
It is. It's just that that's not why Reyna.
I know.
Reyna is using their wrongs against them, but
I
that's
know.
not her motive.
and it's not why Rowan's doing it either. Rowan's doing it because she's her servant and has to.
Right.
So, but can you blame the slave for doing what the master made them do?
No, because she's owned. Okay,
Right.
but the thing is that she's basically seducing Eliot,
Yeah.
and he's going to be questioning whether she was ever genuine with him. You know what I'm saying? So no, it's going to cause a rift between them.
right.
And in the end, even when she betrays Reyna for Eliot, that's not a magic cure.
right.
You
right.
know, so
Yeah,
if
he
they're
can't trust her.
no, and trust has to be earned. So I think that even if she reappears in book 2, it's going to be a long time before their
Right.
relationship is fixed.
Well, and that's the thing. Maybe most of book 2 is, Rowan trying to earn his trust back or whatever.
It could be a part of it.
So.
Okay, so she's going to go from watching Lee and Eliot to joining the underground and riling up the masses.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's as easy, because I feel like the Fae community has started a paper. You know what I'm saying? In fact, that is like the next thing. After this chapter, I think
A paper?
some
A
kind of...
magic telegram?
a pamphlet, you know what I'm saying? They're printing
Ooh,
something.
Like not printing, but like some kind of thing where they could pass it on and like you get the message. It's like a covert kind of, like a code. You know what I'm saying? Like they have magic at their disposal.
I look forward to how you sell this. I mean, you create whatever you want to create with it. What I'm saying is eventually it falls into someone's hands, the Combine, and they realize they have a problem. You know what I'm saying? That this message serves
I'm
this...
thinking these civilians or whatever we want to call them are going to rise up and make themselves known.
You think they're going to start protesting outside the Huntsman?
Yeah, I think
And
they're going to start.
humans are like, why the fuck are people protesting outside a shitty hotel?
I don't know that it's going to be protests, but I think that they're going to make their intentions known to the Combine. Like,
Right.
you've proven that you don't have our best interests in mind when you're doing these kinds of things. We demand your surrender, or something like that.
Right.
We no longer answer to you,
Right.
or something like that.
The truth of the matter is, though, that the average Fae stands little chance against the Combine if they went toe-to-toe with them.
But the average Fae in a large mass outnumbers the Combine by
Sure.
quite a bit.
Nigel's life is definitely in danger here.
Right. So I don't think, or maybe they leave some sort of anonymous message at the Huntsman
Yeah.
that is a direct threat to the Combine. We no longer answer to you. We know what your crimes are.
Right.
You've been exposed. Something like that. Is that something we want to accomplish in this chapter?
Not necessarily.
Or do
no.
we just want the rumblings?
No. I like where the idea that she witnesses the rift with Eliot and Lee, and then she goes down, and it's even if you're just setting the stage with this chapter as so we see the start of the resistance. You can follow it from her getting the information out to then watching the crowd get angrier and angrier. Maybe we hear some of the plans to protest the Combine and all that shit.
Okay, so then I think that we kind of need to cut back to Lee and Eliot and see that they're starting to make progress, maybe have Lee be a little bit impressed by what Eliot's learned so far. Is there any kind of training that we want to make sure is, given to the reader before moving on?
I don't know. I mean, I had him do gun training and a little bit about mystical creatures and stuff. So I think Lee is a lot better of an investigator, and I think that's what Lee's strong points are investigation and just being a bad motherfucker. I mean, the guy was torn in half and kept shooting. So
Okay, so for future notes, I put that the Fae civilians are going to send a message to the Huntsman, letting the sorcerers know that they've been exposed, that they no longer answer to them, that they're aware that their crimes have been revealed, and that they no longer accept their oppression. And that's the message that I think we discussed in the beginning, that Reyna was putting out there, was these sorcerers rule over you. They decide what's legal and what's not.
right.
And, who are they to make those rules?
And those are some of the grumblings that maybe you want to put into this, when they're down in the culvert or whatever you want to call it, the Fae coffee shop that they're in. It's let's hear some of this from the Fae community. That this is the beginning of a revolution. This is what actually happens in real life when the Americans decide to turn against the British, and when they were our oppressors. They got together in a bar and they're like, fuck these tea taxes, fuck these redcoat sons of bitches,
Right, like, who are you to rule over us when these are your crimes?
Right, this is exactly what I imagine happened, minus the pointy ears and sharp teeth or whatever.
Right.
So
and then maybe it just starts with pranks. You know what I'm saying? Like, before we escalate to full on, we no longer answer to you, maybe it starts with some of these kids like, dude, let's go punk this place.
sure.
It starts with, graffiti on the Huntsman, or it starts with them throwing stink bombs inside the lobby, or,
Right.
something stupid.
Fireworks at the Hunters, or
Right. Something where they're just starting to show their anger. You know what I'm saying? They set the Celica on fire.
what's his name? Rich?
Rick.
God damn it! I know this is Lee's fault somehow.
Or maybe it was never intentional, but they go to throw a firework into the Huntsman, and it bounces off the glass and hits the car.
So they don't know it's got a force shield.
Oh, that's funny. So yeah, something just stupid stuff, just stupid pranky stuff. And so they're gonna start to what the fuck was that about,
Right.
And then eventually, it'll come out that it's the starting of the uprising.
Right.
Okay. Do we want to take a break, or do you want to go straight through?
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Let's talk about where we're going after this, so that we know how to end this chapter.
Well, I think that if the Fae community goes on the offensive, well, first off, we still have the witches coming up, right?
We do, and I do want to get like kind of. I want to end the chapter maybe with Lee and Eliot and showing their relationship kind of smoothing over. You know, like not completely necessarily. Maybe Rowan shows back up at the end of the training.
Right.
And maybe Lee tries to like throw the olive branch out there, and he's like, "You did good today, kid. I was impressed," or whatever. And you know, instead of sucking it up like Eliot would have, he kind of brushes him off and goes off with Rowan. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so you think that Rowan and Eliot just go and do their thing after that, like to end the chapter?
I don't know, not necessarily, but you know, it's an option. Why? Where do you see it ending?
No, I'm not disagreeing with you on this. I'm just imagining maybe she's trying to get, maybe she tries to get him to sympathize with the movement in the end, you know, so it's like.
So you think she should take him down there?
I don't know if she needs to take him down there if they're coming up. You know what I'm saying? So as maybe you have them leaving.
Ooh, like, yeah, they're leaving the huntsman and they come across like some kids who are like spraying on the building or something, and Eliot goes to stop him and she's like, look, they had an entire generation of kids wiped out. Let them.
Right, yeah, she starts, maybe they've all left the Fae coffee shop or whatever you want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're wreaking havoc about the city.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Cleveland burns this night, you
right.
know. And
she explains to him why they're
and
upset.
she's, you know, walks him through it, you know. So are they in the wrong? Do you think they're in the wrong here?
Right. And there's no bounty on them, so why the fuck would Eliot go
Right.
after them?
You shouldn't care about this at all. This isn't your fight.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. That's not a bad plan.
You know, yeah, because if she can get him to sympathize with the Fae.
So, yeah, you're right. If she can get him to sympathize with the Fae, then.
That's another rift with Lee, you know. And I don't
Well-
think Lee is against the Fae. Don't get me wrong. Some of his best friends are Fae creatures.
I think that Lee sympathizes with. He was angry with the sorcerers as well.
Right.
But ultimately, he's not going to turn his back on the bounty hunting.
Right.
But I think that. No, I think that it's a good plan. But maybe like he's kind of watching it all, and she tells him. So the real point there is seeing her influence over Eliot.
Yeah.
He's seeing this stuff going on, and his first instinct is to wait. We should stop this.
Right.
And she explains it to him. That's not your fight. You're not. There's no bounty on these people. They're upset, rightfully so. Leave it be.
Right.
And the difference is that instead of doing what he would have done, and he goes with her.
I wonder if they would break the street lamps.
So that they're exposed?
Yeah. I wonder if they would do something like that.
Okay, so here's the issue with that. They could do that, but then you have the risk of Fae being exposed to humans. And that's basically one of the big points of the Combine, is that they keep the Fae from being exposed to humans.
Right. But if the humans know of them, there's no reason for the Combine to hold them down anymore, necessarily. You know what I'm saying?
If the humans know of them, there's nothing keeping the humans from waging war on Fae
This
creatures.
is also true. But I don't think that all Fae believe that the compromise
Okay, so I'm
is in their
human,
favor.
and I think that if we came across Fae, we'd wage war against them.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay.
I'm saying that I think that many of the Fae believe that is in place to protect humans, not Fae. Fae, on average, are much more powerful than a human.
But outnumbered.
No doubt.
And anytime humans think there's something more powerful than them,
They have to destroy it.
Yes. So
Even just different. It doesn't have to be more powerful.
This is true. Different.
This is not like me. I must kill it. That is the human way.
Yeah. So basically, my point is that yes, I get what you're saying. Like the Fae might have like misconceptions about this, but also then we'd have to add a war to the book.
Are we prepared to write an entire war? Probably not.
Unless we find like what was that movie? Fantastic Beasts, where we make it rain and everybody forgets.
I hate that.
I
That is
know.
such a cop out. Look, I liked as much as I dislike J.K. Rowling right now. I liked the Fantastic Beasts.
I did too.
stuff. except the gigantic cop-out that Men in Black uses, too, that everybody just forgets. And it's like, you suck.
Right.
You know, let's actually deal with a problem instead of let's bury our heads in the sand. That's how we deal with problems, right?
Exactly. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the problem there is either if you're going to shoot out the lights and start trying to expose themselves to humanity on a large scale,
You're asking for a war. I get it.
You're asking for a war, and you can't take that back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Or maybe there's an instance where they accidentally expose themselves to some, I don't know, asshole with a AK. And, you know, he starts murdering Faye, and they're like, okay, we are not exposing ourselves to the humans. I don't know. Like, because, you know, that would be their first reaction.
Right.
Shoot.
Human power.
Oh, Lord. So, I mean, yeah, you can do it on a small scale, maybe. And then you just have to kill that human. Or people assume that he's completely nuts.
Yeah. We don't know what you're talking about, man.
Right. Get yourself a tinfoil hat there, buddy. So yeah, like that could happen. Either they make everybody think he's nuts or they kill him.
No, I look forward to see what you do. You don't have to go that route or whatever. It's just, I think it would occur. Maybe that's what you do. Is it occurs to somebody to do this, and then another Faye is like, no!
Yeah. That's kind of funny. That is a terrible idea. Have you ever met a human?
Have you seen a human? They are scary. Those sons of bitches kill anything.
Exactly. All right, that's kind of funny. Maybe we'll do that. Okay. I like it. Do you want to add anything else?
I think it's pretty good. I mean, I know that it might not seem like a lot at first glance, but I think the description of it, the conversations that need to be had or whatever, will really fill it in.
I think that bouncing back and forth a little bit, too. Like going back to, like starting off with Lee and Eliot and then going to the, you know, there's a Faye, and then going back to Lee and Eliot and seeing where they're at, and then coming back to the Faye.
You know what you could do if you really wanted to keep continuity, instead of doing it like I did, where I broke up the chapter back and forth or whatever, is that maybe Rowan is tapping a camera and watching them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you wanted to.
Maybe. I mean, but Rowan doesn't even need to be there when we jump back to them, you know?
Yeah.
So, we'll see how it flows.
Yeah. Yeah, ultimately, it's your chapter, and I can't wait to see how you play it out. The start of a revolution is like a sexy thing to me.
It's
you
fun.
know?
Yeah,
so.
it's fun.
All right. Do we have anything else? You think that's good?
No, I think that's good enough for now.
Okay. Well, then we will come back next week where Tyr will have her chapter, and we'll see how that goes. So in the meantime, you can follow us at thedarkandstormynights.vigvasirmedia.com. You can listen to The Dark and Stormy Nights on thedarkandstormynights.podbean.com. We're also available on Google Play Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, I think Stitcher. We're all over the place. So wherever you get your podcast, just look us up, The Dark and Stormy Nights. Nights with a K. And then we also have a Reddit page, r/Dark and Stormy Nights, a Facebook page, and a Twitter page. So go check us out and let us know what you think. Tell us where you think this should go. We will talk to you next time.